Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for agreeing to set up this interview. As you know, we only have a short amount of time, so let's go ahead and get started right away.
Of course.
Now, I know that you've been involved in some work on community issues.
hmm
Can you tell me what attracted you to the community issue that you chose at the beginning of the semester?
Of course, I'd love to. The community issue that I chose to talk about for this class was the overcrowding of animal shelters. And I chose this topic because it's kind of near and dear to my heart. Several of my own pets are rescues from shelters, and one of our dogs we even adopted from a friend who tried to take them to an animal shelter to surrender, but they weren't able to find one that had enough room to take him in, so we adopted him instead. I've also just always had a love and a passion for animals. I've volunteered at my local shelter, and I've seen firsthand how understaffed they are and how much there is to do that the general public who come to visit don't actually see. And so I thought it would be a kind of a sweet spot between an interesting topic that's relevant and current and something that I was passionate about and enjoyed researching and speaking about.
Okay, thank you. Now, your materials also said that you were involved in a community issue team project that focused on a call to action.
Yeah.
Can you share with me what call to action your team put forward and why you chose that call to action?
Of course. Our call to action was actually a two-part call to action in a way. Our first call to action was that people should get out there, go down to their local animal shelter, and if they can, volunteer their time to help out, whether it be spending time with animals or helping clean. That time is vital, and especially with how understaffed most shelters are, it's extremely appreciated. Or if they can't spend the time, see if there's any supplies that the shelter is running low on or that they need, like food, litter, cleaning supplies, office supplies, that they don't always have quite enough money in their already small budgets to handle. It's always appreciated, and a lot of times shelters have lists of those items that they need. We also encouraged our audience that if they are planning on bringing an animal into their home, either via breeder or adoption, or if they know somebody who is, to really do their research and make sure that they know what they're getting into, know the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because when they bring that animal into their home, it's a commitment for life, not just theirs, but the animal's. And so that's kind of what we were encouraging our audience to do, be educated.
I see. Now, if I were to ask the other members of your team what they think your biggest strength is, what do you think they would say, and why do you think they would say it?
I think my team members would probably say that my greatest strength, especially in this project, was flexibility. There were quite a few things that were planned or scheduled that did not go according to plan, and it was often difficult to coordinate things with our group. So I made it my personal goal during the project to really make sure that those meetings got rescheduled in a timely manner and in a way that was convenient, if not for me, for my group members, because it's always frustrating in a group when there's one person who isn't willing to compromise their time or their schedule, and so I very much did not want to be that person. So when things didn't go as planned, I made sure to get them rescheduled and as convenient and pain-free for my group members as possible.
Okay, great. What for you was the most challenging thing about working with your team?
That's a great question. I think the most challenging thing working with this group was coordinating our schedules to get meeting times in person set up, especially because this project happened over spring break. We're all full-time students, we're all working part to full-time jobs, and so it was really hard to find a time in our already limited free time where we were all available, we were all, able to get to campus, make the commute, because we do all live at least a few minutes from campus. Some of us even live, or a couple of us actually lived between a half an hour to an hour away. So definitely finding times in our busy schedules where we were all free to sit down and work together was difficult. But we made do with Skype calls and phone calls and emails.
Thank you. Okay, last question. In 30 seconds or so, tell me what your biggest takeaway was from Comm 110 this semester. What will stick with you and be useful to you?
I think what's going to be most useful to me in the future, and something that I'm really taking away from this course as a speaker, are some of the delivery techniques that we focused on learning and practicing in our speeches in class. Probably the biggest of these is expression in a speech. I often struggled in the past, whether it was in high school or my senior seminar speeches from my first degree, sounding robotic and scripted, and overall just not really getting into my speech. So learning how much having that kind of expression can impact the memorability of your speech to your audience and how well it's received is something that I really want to keep in mind and try and apply as best as I can to my future speeches, whether they be in a small group setting or in a larger auditorium setting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Definitely.
We'll probably be in touch with you in the next few weeks or so. Take care.
You as well.